Here's an analogy that may sort of get you into a frame of mind where you can see why that's true. In ancient Greece, they believed in oracles. What was an oracle? An oracle was a creature that could foretell the future, had perfect insight into the future, and sometimes delivered it, always in a babbling, slightly hard to understand way, to people living in the present. And there's never an occasion in ancient Greek myth where an oracle gave bad advice. The oracle sometimes turned out was being misleading, sometimes hard to interpret, but the oracle always ends up right. So suppose that you find yourself, boom, in an ancient Greek myth, and you come to a junction, path leading off to your left, a path leading off to your right, and you're wondering which way to go, and an oracle appears. And the oracle tells you in sad tones that, I'm sorry, whichever way you go, there'll be a beast at the end of it who will gobble you up. That's not to say that there's a beast at the end of both paths. There's only a beast at the end of one path. But unfortunately, there's a beast at the end of the path that you will choose. So, what can you do? What you'd most want to do, supposing that you realize that you're in ancient Greece and that you're in a land where oracles always say truth about the future, what you most want to do is defy the oracle, act in such a way that the oracle turns out to be wrong. But does it make sense for you to make that your goal? No, because supposing that you know that you're in ancient Greece and oracles are always right in ancient Greece, you know that whichever way you go, it will turn out that that was the way the oracle predicted you go, and that is the way with the beast at the end of it. If you go left, you're going to find a beast at the end of the left path. If you go right, you'll find a beast at the end of the right path. Although, of course, if you go left, not only will there be a beast at the end of the left path, but there'll be nothing. There'll be a clear way along the right path. And likewise, if you go right, not only will there be a beast at the end of the right path, but there'll be a clear way along the left path. So, you're in a funny situation in which it makes no sense to aim to get the result that you most want to get, which is that the oracle's wrong and you're not gobbled by the beast. Now, of course, it's perfectly consistent with your being in this situation that you be able to look back and say, as you're being gobbled up by the beast, oh, I could have, in the sense of there was nothing stopping me going down the other path. Here I was, I took the left path, I'm being gobbled up by the beast, and yet I could so easily have gone right. The oracle didn't stop me from going right. There was no suction, there was nothing sucking me up the left path, there was no current of a river pushing me down the left path. I just went down the left path, seemingly by my own free choice. So and furthermore, if I'd wished to have gone down the right path, I would have gone down the right path. The decision was in control, or my will, my desires were in control of the situation. And yet, of course, I went down that left path. Okay, so we've at least found ourselves a reading of could have done otherwise, such that premises 3 and 4 seem to be true when could have been done otherwise is read that way. But when could have done otherwise is read that way, does premise 2 come out true? Premise 2, I remind you, says, if together the initial conditions of our world and the scientific laws that govern our world necessitated that Damien would take the bill, and he could have refrained from taking the bill, then either he could have made it the case that the laws were different, or he could have made it the case that the initial conditions were different. The implicit principle that's driving premise 2 is that if you can do something and your doing the thing entails or implies that something else will happen, then you can make the something else happen. Is that a good principle when we're understanding could have done in this third way? And it's clearly not a good principle when could have done is understood in this third way. Suppose that the beast is at the end of the left path. The oracle's predicted that you're going to go the way of the beast. It makes perfect sense for you to aim to go down the right path. That's an option for you, going down the right path. You can think about the merits of that. The right path is a bit more comfortable. It's got fewer stones on it. That tells in favor of going down the right path. You can perfectly well make that a goal, going down the right path. And as a matter of fact, if you go down the right path, you will defy the oracle's prediction. You'll make what the oracle said false, and you won't be gobbled up by the beast. And yet it makes no sense, given that the oracle has made her prediction and that you know that she's going to be right, to aim to defy the oracle's prediction and not be gobbled up by the beast. So this serves as a counterexample to the implicit principle that's behind premise 2. And there are many further counterexamples, and exactly one of them is just the case that we have in question here. It does, in Damien's case, make perfect sense for him to consider refraining from taking the bill as an option available to him. In fact, he did consider that. He was thinking about it, and he considered it to be an option. And he was perfectly right in considering it to be an option. As a matter of fact, refraining from taking the bill entailed making it the case that the laws of nature were not L, or that the initial conditions of the world were not I. But it made no sense for Damien to aim to make it the case that the laws weren't L, or the initial conditions weren't I. That was something it didn't make sense for him to do, because he knew that whatever he did, it was going to turn out that his doing it was consistent with the laws being L and the initial conditions being I. So what we're getting here, the moral of this, is that this argument appears to be turning on what we called in the, when we looked at arguments for the existence of God, equivocation. There's different ways of understanding this idea of somebody being able to do otherwise, understanding what we mean when we say somebody could have done otherwise. And there's a way of understanding it such that the third and fourth premises come out true, and there's a way of understanding it such that the second premise comes out true. But there's no way of understanding it, say I, such that all the premises come out true. So the argument is, at least for the moment, relatively unconvincing. And insofar as you might think that there was something deep behind Van Inwagen's idea, because before we articulated this complicated argument to the conclusion that if determinism is true, then we are unfree in the sense that we can't avoid doing but what we do, you already felt the pull of that, I take it. Many people, before they start taking philosophy and thinking about these ideas in a sophisticated and technical way, do feel the pull of that idea. So if you feel the pull of that idea, you may think that Van Inwagen hasn't quite done an excellent job of nailing it down. So I'd like you, before the next time, to have a go at trying to nail it down. Try to see if you can come up with a better argument to the effect that if determinism is true, then we aren't free. Big picture, where are we? We've been supposing that Damien was morally responsible for what he did only if he had free will, only if he did it freely, and he did it freely only if he could have done otherwise. And we looked at this argument that if determinism is true, then he couldn't have done otherwise. So if determinism is true, then he didn't have free will and he wasn't morally responsible for what he did. And we considered a response to the argument, which basically says, no, if determinism is true, then it may yet be the case that he could have done otherwise, in the relevant sense. And that's fine. Next time, we're going to look at a different response to the argument, a response that concedes that if determinism is true, then we can't do anything other than we actually do, but disputes that that means that we don't have free will. On this view, you can do something freely, act of your own free will, even though you couldn't have done otherwise. So that's what we'll look at next time.